Picture this. You're standing in a narrow street that smells of old rain, boiled cabbage, and something far less pleasant. The cobblestones are slick underfoot. Your cloak clings to your skin, and the cold wind whistles between crooked timber buildings. You squint upward at a sky the color of wet parchment. It's the year 1327. You are, you lucky soul, a tax collector. Spoiler, you are not popular. Congratulations, you're still breathing. For now. No, this isn't a glamorous life of parchment and quills. It's a life of ducking rotten fruit, bribing guards, and calculating who you can safely extort without getting a pitchfork between your ribs. Why does it suck to be a tax collector? Where to begin? You collect taxes for lords who can't be bothered. You face peasants who really can't pay. You tread a fine line between justice and survival, all while worrying about the rats under your bed and the lice in your collar. And here's the kicker. No matter how many coins you collect, it's never enough for your masters, and always too much for everyone else. Tonight, we'll drift through your long, tiresome day. You'll walk the muddy roads, face angry mobs, and count your bruises at sunset. You'll smell the smoke of the marketplace, hear the clanging bells of the town hall, and maybe, just maybe, learn a few tricks to stay one step ahead. Don't worry, you'll get through it, most likely. And if you're already yawning, good. That's half the goal. So lie back, pull up your blanket, and let's begin. Picture this. The world stirs around you in fragments. You feel rough wool beneath your fingers, the stiff edge of a coarse blanket grazing your cheek. Your breath fogs in the chilly morning air, pale light barely seeping through the cracks in the shutters. You're alive. It's already an accomplishment. No pillow, no mattress as you know it. Just a straw-filled sack that rustles with every shift, smells faintly of mold, and something that might have been a mouse. You blink. Your throat's dry. Your body aches from a life spent hunched over ledgers and trudging through villages. You wiggle your toes beneath stiff leather boots you were too tired to remove last night. Cold. No warmth but your own. No privacy. No luxury. A flicker of hope. You get to do it all again today. A bell tolls in the distance, deep and resonant. The hour, early, too early. But lords want taxes, and peasants don't pay themselves. You sit up slowly. The blanket falls away, releasing a small puff of dust. A rat scurries along the wall. You both pretend not to notice each other. Your tunic, stained from last week's rain, hangs from a peg. Damp. Everything is damp. You reach for your purse, half empty. A grim smile tugs at your lips. The purse of a tax collector is never as full as the ledgers claim. Outside, the world begins to hum. Feet shuffle. Voices argue. A cart creaks past. The day's circus is assembling. And you? You're the ringmaster, the most hated man in town. Welcome to your life. Picture this. You swing your legs off the straw-stuffed cot, and your feet land on the splintery wooden floor. Cold shoots up through your soles. You stand, stretch, and try to shake the stiffness from your limbs. Not much success. The chill clings to your bones. The room around you is barely wide enough to pace. Rough timber walls lean inward as though conspiring to fall on you. The single window is shuttered. Better that way, keeps out more than light. Tepidity? None. Comfort? Absent. Hope? Just a sliver. A draft snakes through the cracks in the beams, carrying with it the smell of soot, damp earth, and a trace of unwashed humanity. You sniff, wrinkle your nose, and reach for your cloak. Spoiler, it won't help much. Congratulations, you'll shiver either way. Your dwelling, if one can call it that, is wedged between the tannery and the brewer's storeroom. Charming neighbors. When the wind shifts, the air turns from sour to worse. The walls are blackened from the smoke of last winter. The hearth is cold now. Fuel costs coin, and coin is for taxes, not warmth. You glance at the chimney, half choked with soot, home to a family of crows. They're better fed than you. You scratch absently, again. The linen of your undershirt itches. Bedbugs, likely. Fleas, certainly. Lice, undoubtedly. A personal ecosystem thriving on your existence. You spot one skittering across your sleeve. With the resignation of a seasoned veteran, you flick it away. It lands somewhere. You don't look. A knock on the thin door. More like a rattle. You tense. Early visitors are rarely friendly. You crack it open. It's old Merrick, the tinker who shares the alley. He squints at you, a gap-toothed grin on his face. "Morning, collector," he rasps. "Weather'll rot your bones today." You grunt in reply. Close the door. He's not wrong. The dampness seeps into everything. Wood, cloth, skin. You pull on your tunic, belt, and boots with practiced speed. The garments are heavy with old sweat and rain, but they serve. Your ledger and quill fit into the satchel. The dagger on your hip is the only insurance you trust. You glance once more at your quarters. A rat peers back at you from the rafters, whiskers twitching. You nod in mutual respect. Survivors both. Then you step into the day. Picture this. You close the door behind you with a soft click, and the world outside greets you with a slap of wet air and clinging cold. The narrow alley reeks of spoiled ale and damp wool. You tug your cloak tighter and head toward the public fountain. Spoiler, it's not clean water. Congratulations, it's the only water you've got. The fountain is a stone trough fed by a crooked lead pipe. The stream trickles sluggishly, clouded with silt. You queue behind a washerwoman scrubbing stained linens. A fishbone floats past. You look away. It's your turn. You cup your hands beneath the flow, grit scraping your palms. The water is icy. Your fingers ache with the first splash. You splash your face anyway, better cold than crusted in yesterday's grime. Soap? A luxury. You settle for a brisk rub with your sleeve. Your beard, coarse and uneven, catches droplets that run down your neck. Next, teeth. Or rather, a quick swish of water and a scrape of a twig chewed to fray the end. You work it across your molars. A bitter taste, a coppery tang. One tooth is loose. You ignore it. You spit discreetly against the wall. A rat noses toward the spot. You step away. And now, the matter of nature. You glance around. No privies in this part of town, save for a communal pit behind the alehouse. You grimace and make your way there. The pit is a rank hole surrounded by leaning boards. The stench hits first. Ammonia, rot, despair. You breathe through your mouth and step carefully. The ground squelches ominously. You relieve yourself quickly, eyes scanning for movement. Not all dangers carry swords. Some crawl on 6 legs. You swat at a buzzing cloud, fasten your belt, and flee. Clean? Hardly. But good enough. Survival rarely smells sweet. A figure catches your eye. A young boy of about 9, barefoot, eyes too old for his face. He carries 2 pails sloshing with the same cloudy water you washed in. His family's drinking supply, no doubt. He shoots you a wary glance and slips away into the crowd. Another life shaped by the same cold necessities. You rub your hands dry against your cloak and square your shoulders. Hygiene complete, ledger in place, you are ready. Ready to collect what no one wants to give. Picture this. Your stomach growls. A low, persistent ache that's been with you since yesterday. Tax collectors eat last, and sometimes least. You follow the scent of bread and smoke toward the baker's lane. Spoiler, the bread's stale, the soup's thin. Congratulations, it's edible. The bakery is a squat stone building, windows dark with soot. A line coils outside. Apprentices, servants, a few desperate townsfolk with coins clenched in calloused fists. You wait your turn. The baker's wife eyes you warily. Tax collectors and bakers have complicated relationships. You give her a thin smile and slide a small coin across the worn counter. She slaps a heel of rye bread onto a scrap of cloth. "That's the last of it," she mutters. You nod. No need for pleasantries. You duck into a side alley to eat. Privacy is rare, but even taxmen need a moment alone. The bread is dense, shot through with grit. You chew slowly, jaw protesting. A passing tinker offers a ladle of broth, thin as fog, salted to near inedibility. You trade a promise of leniency for the kindness. The broth warms your insides, at least. Utensils? Ha! You dip bread directly into the ladle, fingers slick with grease. The act draws no notice. This is the common way. Nearby, an old woman gnaws a bone, eyes sharp as knives. A man eats raw onion with a grimace. A child licks crumbs from a cracked plate. You finish the last bite and wipe your hands on your cloak. A faint smear of grease joins the tapestry of stains. In the crowd, you spot another collector, Drivan, older, gaunt. He meets your gaze and nods once. Solidarity among the despised. He limps away, ledger under arm. You sling your satchel over your shoulder. The day won't wait. Coins must be tallied, debts recorded. The nobles grow hungrier than the peasants. A young mother passes with a babe on her hip, eyes hollow. She watches you go, mouth pressed thin. You know the look. Fear, resentment, exhaustion. You sigh. It won't be your last encounter today, and so you step into the morning throng, the taste of salt and stale bread lingering on your tongue. Picture this. You push through the crowd, cloak drawn tight against the morning chill. The wind teases at the frayed edges of your hood, threading icy fingers beneath the fabric. Spoiler. Fashion is for the rich. Congratulations. Your garments are still holding together. Your tunic is a coarse wool blend, dyed a brownish gray that once might have been vibrant. The color of mud. Fitting. The fabric itches constantly, a slow, maddening scrape against your skin. You've learned to ignore it, mostly. Over this, a heavy cloak, patched at the shoulders. The clasp is a bent bronze pin. You fasten it carefully. The wind here is a thief with invisible fingers. Beneath the tunic, linen. Worn thin, sweat-stained. It absorbs the worst of your labors, but carries the scent of them, too. You smell like yesterday, and the day before. Your belt. Leather, cracked, hole-punched anew as your waist thins. From it dangles your dagger, a pouch of meager coins, and your battered tax ledger bound in stiffened hide. No collector leaves home without it. Trousers, rough wool again, heavy, stiff. The knees are bagged from constant crouching, the hem stained with mud from countless roads. Your boots are thick-soled, oiled against the wet. The left one leaks. You know exactly where the cold water will seep in when the streets puddle. You'll curse it later. Jewelry, none. Rings catch knives. Brooches tempt thieves. You keep to plainness. A collector must be unremarkable but unmistakable. Yet the wealthy strut past you in silks and furs, boots of fine calfskin, collars embroidered in gold thread. They sweep their cloaks aside like banners, eyes flicking over you with polite disdain. One such man, a young noble with curled hair and perfumed beard, brushes your shoulder without apology. His cloak leaves a trail of crushed violets and arrogance. You watch him go, fingers itching. His taxes are late. You'll see to that. A beggar woman huddles near a doorway, her shift little more than rags. She scratches at her scalp, glances up at you with wary eyes. You move on. Your sympathy holds no coin. And there, by the fountain, a boy of about 12, wearing a tunic far too large for him, belted high at the waist. His feet are bare, soles blackened with city filth. He eyes you, calculating. Perhaps a future collector, or a cut purse. You nod once. The boy nods back, a silent exchange among survivors. Your cloak billows as the wind rises. You tighten it and step into the market street. garments dampening with each breath of fog. Fashion be damned. Survival is the only true style here. Picture this. The market behind you fades into a hum of bartering voices and clattering hooves. You set your boots to the road, a winding, rutted path of mud and scattered straw. Spoiler, there's no Uber. Congratulations, you have feet and they work. The main road out of town is little more than a churned morass. Carts groan past, wheels half sunk in muck. Oxen strain against yokes, breath steaming in the cold air. The drivers curse with creative energy. You sidestep a particularly deep puddle and fail. The left boot soaks through, as promised. A grimace, a sigh. The leak finds its mark. Your task today takes you to outlying farms, those reluctant tributaries to the Lord's coffers. It means miles of walking, ledgers strapped to your side, eyes wary for more than mud. The first danger is the road itself. Potholes lurk beneath shallow pools. Loose stones conspire to turn ankles. You tread carefully, staff in hand more for balance than authority. A lone rider passes at speed, cloaked in green. His horse's hooves spatter you with mud. He doesn't look back. Nobility on the move. Further on, the road narrows between stands of skeletal trees. The air here is still, sound muffled. You pull your cloak tighter. Ambush country. Your ears strain for more than birdsong. The clink of a blade, the snap of a twig. These are sounds that end a tax collector's day prematurely. A figure steps from the brush. A boy, no older than 16, clutching a stick knife. His eyes dart, unsure. "Coin," he stammers. "Give it." You meet his gaze steadily. "Son, I carry debts, not riches." He hesitates, blade wavering. The ledger catches his eye, thick, stained with use. Perhaps it speaks more of hardship than gain. A beat. Then he flees, swallowed by the trees. You let out a breath you didn't know you'd held. The road winds on. A creaking cart approaches, drawn by a donkey with ribs like barrel staves. The driver, a woman in a patched shawl, nods wearily. You nod back. You note her face. She's on your list, a visit for later. You pass milestones, moss-choked and leaning. Distance here is measured more by weariness than markers. And then, ahead, the first farmstead. Wattle fence sagging, smoke curling from a low chimney. Time to work. You adjust your cloak, square your shoulders, and step through the gate. Picture this. You stand at the gate of the first farm, mud clinging to your boots, breath misting in the cold air. Beyond the wattle fence, the farmstead stirs, slow, weary, relentless. Spoiler, the peasants can't pay much. Congratulations, they'll try to make you think they have even less. A thin woman with wind-chapped cheeks watches you approach. Her hands are red from the morning's washing, apron streaked with ash. She nods warily. "Collector?" she says, voice flat. You return the nod. "I'm here for the tithe." Inside the yard, chickens scatter, clucking an alarm. A pig roots near the fence. The man of the house, broad-shouldered, stoop-backed, emerges from the barn, wiping his hands on a length of cloth. "Coin's short," he says before you speak. Winter was cruel. It always is. You've heard this song in every key. Still, your ledger waits. You open it with deliberate calm, quill ready. They produce what they can. 2 pence, a measure of oats, a wheel of hard cheese wrapped in cloth. The man watches your eyes as though weighing your mercy. You record each item, lips moving in silent tally. When done, you nod once. No threats today. They've given what they could, or what they thought safe. Back on the road, your path takes you through a small cluster of craftsmen's huts. The air here smells of tannin and smoke. A blacksmith hammers at his forge, each strike ringing through the narrow lane. You pause, watching molten metal yield to his will. Sweat beads on his brow despite the cold. His apprentice works the bellows, thin arms straining. When the hammer stills, you step forward. Master Arno, the quarterly tax. He wipes his face with a soot-blackened sleeve. Coins lighter than the anvil these days. A common refrain. You gesture to the ledger. The record must be true. With a grunt, he produces a pouch from beneath his apron. A few silver pennies clink into your palm. You count them with the practiced fingers of one too long in this trade. Nearby, a potter spins a wheel with slow, deliberate motions. Clay-streaked hands shape a rough bowl. Her eyes flick toward you, cautious. She'll be next. A beggar woman shuffles past, trailing rags and whispers. You note her absence from the ledger, beneath the threshold of concern. For now. As the sun climbs, you move from hut to hut, each door a fresh negotiation, each face a study in reluctant compliance. The work is endless, the resentment palpable, and yet, amid the wary glances and tight purses, you glimpse resilience. The craftsman's steady hand, the peasant's bowed back rising again and again. One old cooper meets your gaze with a faint smile. Still above ground, eh, collector? You smile in return, for now. And so the day grinds on, ledger swelling with modest gains, your feet heavy with each mile. The road awaits. The work is far from done. Picture this. You leave the muddy lanes of the craftsman behind and climb toward higher ground. Here the streets widen, the stones dry underfoot. The air smells faintly of incense and warmed wine. Spoiler, the nobles owe the most. Congratulations, they pay the least, if they pay at all. Past an arched gate, you enter the district of the privileged. Timber gives way to stone, thatched roofs to tiled ones. Guards in bright livery eye you with lazy disinterest. They know your face. You are tolerated here, not welcomed. At the first manor, an ornate iron knocker thuds against wood. A steward answers, face blank. You state your purpose, taxes due, debts noted. He leads you through a hall heavy with tapestries. The floor beneath your boots gleams, polished with more care than any road. In the solar, the lady of the house reclines on a cushioned seat, a small dog nestled in her lap. She regards you with mild distaste. We have already paid this quarter, she says. You present the ledger, inked in your own precise hand. No record of such payment exists. A delicate sigh. She waves to the steward. Coins appear, a fraction of what is owed. You make note of the sum, knowing better than to press further today. To anger the gentry is to invite ruin. You bow, back stiff, and take your leave. The dog yaps once as you depart. At the next estate, a minor lord greets you in his study, quill in hand, ledgers open. He affects the air of a man too busy for trivialities. My tenants are behind, he says smoothly. No coin until they pay. A familiar excuse. You record the conversation, for what it's worth. Your ledger grows heavier with promises and lighter with coin. By midday, you visit the town bailiff. His chambers reek of wax and damp parchment. He smiles thinly, fingers stained with ink. You work the peasants too hard, collector, he says. Best not press them to ruin. You raise an eyebrow. The Lord's demands grow. He chuckles without humor. Then press the Lord. An impossible suggestion. Still, you log his words, a small shield, should accusations arise. In the market square, a clerk of the exchequer holds audience beneath a canopy. You queue among merchants and minor officials. When your turn comes, you present your partial collection. He frowns at the sums. Short again, he murmurs. You meet his gaze. So is the land. He sighs, stamping your ledger with a leaden seal. Official, but insufficient. A weight that now rests upon your shoulders alone. As the sun dips lower, you pass a scribe hunched over a desk near an open window. His quill scratches ceaselessly, eyes rimmed red from lack of sleep. You exchange a glance. one weary servant of the system to another. His lot is no easier than yours. The nobles dine now, their halls aglow with torchlight. You trudge past uninvited, ledger in hand, coins fewer than hoped. Duty calls you onward. The day is not yet done. Picture this. You leave the muddy lanes of the craftsman behind and climb toward higher ground. Here the streets widen, the stones dry underfoot. The air smells faintly of incense and warmed wine. Spoiler, the nobles owe the most. Congratulations, they pay the least, if they pay at all. Past an arched gate, you enter the district of the privileged. Timber gives way to stone, thatched roofs to tiled ones. Guards in bright livery eye you with lazy disinterest. They know your face. You are tolerated here, not welcomed. At the first manor, an ornate iron knocker thuds against wood. A steward answers, face blank. You state your purpose, taxes due, debts noted. He leads you through a hall heavy with tapestries. The floor beneath your boots gleams, polished with more care than any road. In the solar, the lady of the house reclines on a cushioned seat, a small dog nestled in her lap. She regards you with mild distaste. We have already paid this quarter, she says. You present the ledger, inked in your own precise hand. No record of such payment exists. A delicate sigh. She waves to the steward. Coins appear, a fraction of what is owed. You make note of the sum, knowing better than to press further today. To anger the gentry is to invite ruin. You bow, back stiff, and take your leave. The dog yaps once as you depart. At the next estate, a minor lord greets you in his study, quill in hand, ledgers open. He affects the air of a man too busy for trivialities. My tenants are behind, he says smoothly. No coin until they pay. A familiar excuse. You record the conversation, for what it's worth. Your ledger grows heavier with promises and lighter with coin. By midday, you visit the town bailiff. His chambers reek of wax and damp parchment. He smiles thinly, fingers stained with ink. You work the peasants too hard, collector, he says. Best not press them to ruin. You raise an eyebrow. The Lord's demands grow. He chuckles without humor. Then press the Lord, an impossible suggestion. Still, you log his words, a small shield, should accusations arise. In the market square, a clerk of the exchequer holds audience beneath a canopy. You queue among merchants and minor officials. When your turn comes, you present your partial collection. He frowns at the sums. Short again, he murmurs. You meet his gaze. So is the land. He sighs, stamping your ledger with a leaden seal. Official, but insufficient. A weight that now rests upon your shoulders alone. As the sun dips lower, you pass a scribe hunched over a desk near an open window. His quill scratches ceaselessly, eyes rimmed red from lack of sleep. You exchange a glance, one weary servant of the system to another. His lot is no easier than yours. The nobles dine now, their halls aglow with torchlight. You trudge past uninvited, ledger in hand, coins fewer than hoped. Duty calls you onward. The day is not yet done. Picture this. Evening descends in a blaze of smoke and sound. The market is gone, replaced by banners strung between posts, torches flaring in the dusk. It's festival day. Spoiler, debts do not sleep. Congratulations. You work tonight too. You tread the square once more, ledger tucked beneath your cloak. The air hums with the mingled scents of roasting meat, spilled ale, and sweat. Jugglers toss flaming brands before wide-eyed children. A fiddler scrapes a frenzied tune, boots stamping in time. The Lord Steward decreed an extra levy on the festival stalls. You're here to collect it. Joyful, isn't it? A dice game sprawls beneath a makeshift canopy. Rough men cluster around, eyes gleaming. Silver clinks against wood. You note the game, unlicensed, a likely source of untaxed coin. You step close, the players tense. One glances at your dagger, the other at your ledger. You speak softly. the Lord's share. Grudgingly, a portion of the winnings passes to your hand. You weigh it, record it. The game resumes with louder cheers, bravado masking resentment. Further on, an arena drawn from wagons and rope pens in a crowd. Within, two men circle, wooden staves clashing with hollow thuds. Betting thrives here. You catch a glimpse of coin exchanging hands behind a vendor's stall. You intercept the vendor, an aging woman with sharp eyes. A fee for the gaming, you say. She haggles, protests, cajoles. In the end, a handful of coppers find their way to you. You nod and move on. The square pulses with life. Fire eaters send plumes skyward. Acrobats spin and leap. A troupe of masked dancers performs beneath the statue of a forgotten king. Among the revelers, pickpockets prowl. You feel one brush your cloak, a child, thin as a reed. You catch his wrist gently. Careful, you murmur. Today's not the day. Eyes wide, he flees into the throng. You let him go. One must choose battles wisely. At a row of ale tents, drunken laughter swells. You collect modest dues from their keepers, coins reeking of hops and spilled dreams. Near midnight, fireworks light the sky, crude bursts of color and smoke. The crowd gasps. For a moment, even you pause to watch. Then the spell breaks. Debts remain. You close your ledger with a sigh, purse heavier, shoulders wearier. Amid the fading revelry, you spy a lone figure. A soldier returned from campaign, scars bright against his cheek. He drinks in silence, untouched by the festival's joy. You pass him by, a silent nod exchanged. Some burdens need no recording. The square dims, the fires die. Another night's work complete. And still, the road calls. Picture this. The torches gutter low as dawn's first gray fingers pry at the edges of the city. You walk now through quieter streets, toward the Hall of Justice. Spoiler, the law is a game. Congratulations, you know how to play it. Just enough. The hall is squat and grim, walls of soot-dark stone. Above the door, a carving of a blindfolded figure weighs scales tipped with invisible hands. Inside, the air smells of cold iron and old sweat. A scribe hunches over a long bench, quill scratching ceaselessly. A constable nods as you enter. Recognition, not warmth. You present your ledger. The constable flips through it, brow furrowing. Short collections here, he mutters. You spread your hands. The land is thin, the peasants thinner, he snorts. Bring more, or bring names. Names. The word hangs in the air. To list a debtor here is to seal their fate. You weigh each name before you write. Some you pass over. Old debts, impossible to pay. Others, recent and stubborn. You record 3 names. The constable stamps them with a wax seal, orders for arrest. You follow him to the jail, a squat annex of the hall. The air here turns colder, fouler. Rust streaks the iron bars. Rats scurry bold and fat. Inside, a jailer dozes beside a brazier. Chains rattle faintly beyond the cells. The constable hands him the warrants. By midday, your debtors arrive. Shoved, shackled, hollow-eyed. They slump against stone walls slick with damp. One, an old cooper with trembling hands, catches your gaze. No malice, just weary resignation. You nod once, unable to offer more. Justice here is swift and brutal. Minor offenders face stocks in the square, heads and hands trapped for the mockery of the crowd. Rotten produce flies freely. You pass the stocks as a baker's apprentice takes his punishment, shorted weight on a loaf. His master watches grimly, coin in hand for the fine. More severe crimes face harsher ends. A scaffold rises in the square's far corner, its timbers dark with old stains. A hangman waits, hood drawn low. Today, no such sentence falls, but the threat stands, etched in every citizen's mind. At a side cell, you glimpse a woman pacing, a healer accused of sorcery. No trial yet, but her fate tilts with each whispered word. The scribe records every exchange, quill scratching like a death watch beetle. By late afternoon, you leave the hall. Your ledger is lighter, but your conscience weighs more. A tax collector trades in coin and in judgment. You pass a young boy sweeping the hall's steps. His eyes follow you, curious, wary. A future scribe, perhaps, or a future debtor. The law is a wheel, and it turns, crushing or lifting by whim. You shoulder your satchel and walk on. The day is not yet done. Picture this. You tread the shadowed streets, ledger snug beneath your cloak. The sky hangs low and gray, thick with the promise of rain or worse. A faint, metallic scent lingers in the air. Spoiler: sickness stalks everyone. Congratulations. You're still standing. For now. The city breathes uneasily. News of a fever spreading in the lower wards twists through the alleys like smoke. You feel it in every wary glance, every hasty blessing muttered at your passing. You cross paths with a tinker selling amulets, clay discs stamped with crude sigils. Protects against the pestilence, he claims. His hands shake as he offers you one. You decline. Superstition won't balance your ledger, but as you walk on, you wonder, what does? In the merchant quarter, a surgeon's shop gapes open. Within, a thick-set man sharpens bone saws by candlelight. The tang of vinegar and old blood seeps from the doorway. You watch as a pale woman is led in, her skin flushed with fever. The surgeon grunts. Bleeding first. A basin waits beneath the chair. You move on quickly. There's no cure here, only hope and coins exchanged for delay. At the apothecary's, bundles of dried herbs hang in dense curtains. The air hums with the sharp bite of lavender, sage, and less wholesome scents. The apothecary peers at you through clouded lenses. Looking to ward off the cough? He asks. You shake your head, just collecting. He chuckles dryly. No profit in that when they're dead. Still, he counts out a small sum, part taxes, part bribe to remain untroubled. Outside, a ragged friar preaches to a clutch of townsfolk. Repent, the pestilence is punishment for sin. His voice cracks with fervor. Coins rattle in a worn bowl at his feet. You consider taxing the collection, but some coins are better left where they fall. In a side alley, you pass a woman smearing garlic on her threshold. A charm, they say. The sharp scent stings your eyes. Further on, a man beats a drum, driving away unseen miasmas. His face is pinched with fear. You cross a narrow bridge where the bodies of the dead are carried to wagons. Two lie wrapped in rough cloth, faces hidden. A clerk marks their passing in a grim ledger of his own. You glance at the list. Familiar names among the columns. Taxpayers no more. At the well, you pause. A young girl draws water with trembling hands, her face pale. Her mother watches you with hollow eyes. You turn away. Some debts must remain uncollected. As the sun dips, you pass the home of a healer, a woman whispered about in both gratitude and fear. Smoke curls from her chimney. No one answers your knock. You leave an empty space in your ledger. Even collectors know when to let the ink dry. And so you walk on, the scent of fear thick in the air, each step heavier than the last. Your coin purse swells, but at what cost? Picture this. Night creeps across the city in velvet folds. Lanterns bloom behind shuttered windows. You walk slower now, the weight of the day pressing against tired shoulders. Spoiler, family ties are fragile. Congratulations. You're mostly untangled from them. Mostly. You pass a row of narrow homes, each door carved with a family mark. Simple shapes, crude but proud. Within, life stirs. From one window spills the sharp cry of a baby. A mother's soft voice follows, low and soothing. You pause, listening. A sound older than taxes. A little further, a marriage feast spills into the street. A young couple circles in a slow, awkward dance, guests cheering them on. The bride's dress is borrowed, the groom's cloak frayed. Their smiles burn bright anyway. A drunk uncle spies you, waves a tankard. "Collector," he bellows. "Come for the wedding tax, eh?" Laughter follows. You tip your head in mock salute and move on. Spoiler. Yes, there is a wedding tax. Congratulations. You won't collect it tonight. You do enjoy breathing. Children dart between the revelers, barefoot, wild-eyed. One brushes past you, sticky with honey. You glance down. He grins, gap-toothed, and vanishes into the crowd. You note the house, a future entry in your ledger. When the wine runs out, debts will surface. Further on, a quiet home. Through the open door, you glimpse a man mending a child's wooden toy. His hands are rough, movements careful. Across the hearth, a woman stirs a thin stew. They glance up as you pass. Fear flickers in their eyes, swiftly masked by polite nods. You return it, gaze lingering on the toy. Some debts weigh heavier than coin. In a wealthier quarter, laughter rings from a walled garden. Noble children play beneath a nurse's watchful eye. Velvet cloaks, gilded trinkets. A stark contrast to the barefoot swarm you passed earlier. Yet their future is no more certain. You've seen ledgers where noble names crumble beneath unpaid sums. Silk frays, gold tarnishes, the wheel turns for all. You pause at a small chapel. Within, an old priest blesses a knot of weary mothers. Their prayers rise, protection for sons gone to war, strength for daughters bound to hard marriages. Your hand brushes the ledger at your side. No coin can answer those prayers. As you turn away, a young girl sits on the steps, weaving stray threads into a crude bracelet. Her eyes meet yours, unblinking. A silent question. What debt will I owe when I'm grown? You have no answer. You walk on, boots scuffing stone. Behind each door, a family, love, duty, hope, and the slow creep of obligation. Your path is lined with ledgers unseen. You tally them all the same, and the night deepens. Picture this. The streets thin as the city exhales. Laughter dims. Lanterns gutter low. You turn toward your quarters, such as they are. Ledger heavier than your limbs. Spoiler. Home life is no sanctuary. Congratulations. Your rats missed you. The alley welcomes you with damp shadows. Your door creaks on tired hinges. Inside, cold embraces you like an old friend. You set the ledger down with reverence. Coins chime faintly, a meager reward for a day's bruises. Now, the matter of supper. The hearth gapes black. You coax a sullen flame to life with scraps of kindling, breath held against the smoke. Sparks catch, small victory. Your larder is modest. A sack of barley, a heel of cheese, dried onions. You measure each choice with care. Waste not. Barley goes to the pot. Water sloshed from a clay jug. You peel an onion with a blunt knife, fingers stinging from the juices. Into the pot it falls, joining the grain. As it simmers, you mend a tear in your cloak. Needle and thread dance with stubborn grace. Outside, a cat yowls, a song of hunger. You understand it well. The stew thickens. You stir it slowly, breath rising with each pass. The scent is humble but comforting. Onion, smoke, and weary hope. A knock at the door. You stiffen, hand brushing your dagger. But it's only Merrick, the old tinker. He peers in. Smells better than the tavern swill, he grins. You nod, ladle 2 bowls. Company is rare, warmth rarer. You eat in silence broken by small talk. Coin shortages, rumors of plague, a distant war. Merrick leaves with a grunt and a nod. You bar the door behind him. Dishes are few, a single bowl, wooden spoon. You wipe them clean with cloth and spit. Tomorrow will soil them anew. You check your stores, low as always. A trip to the market soon. if coin permits. In the corner, a rat scurries bold across the floor. You toss a crust its way. Mutual understanding. Survive and let survive. Before the coals fade, you tuck away the ledger, lock the coin purse, and pull your blanket tight. Home life, such as it is, scraped together with stubborn hands and colder nights. And outside, the city sleeps uneasily. So do you. Picture this, later now. The air presses close, damp with fog and wood smoke. Your belly holds the thin warmth of barley stew. But sleep? Not yet. Spoiler, nights are dangerous. Congratulations. You've learned when to disappear. You pull your cloak tighter, step into the alley once more. The city's pulse has slowed, but not stilled. Night belongs to others now. Taverns spill laughter and shadows onto the streets. You pass one, the Silver Boar. A battered sign swings overhead, groaning in the wind. Inside, rough voices clash with the reek of ale and unwashed bodies. A minstrel plucks at a lute, words lost beneath the din. You hesitate at the threshold. A collector in a tavern walks a fine line, between ears that listen and knives that don't. Still, the night offers no softer refuge. You step in. Eyes flick toward you, some wary, some hostile. You nod to the barkeep, place a coin on the worn counter. Watered ale arrives, thick with sediment. You sip without complaint. At a corner table, a dice game hums with tension. Losers curse their luck. Winners guard their coin. The house takes its cut, untaxed, of course. You make a quiet note for tomorrow. A merchant's daughter, hair braided with faded ribbons, sings for a few coppers. Her voice rises sweet and sad, a thread of beauty in the mire. You drain your cup, slip away before questions follow. Some nights are best left unmarked. Outside, the city has grown stranger. Lanterns flicker, casting long fingers through the fog. Footsteps echo too sharply. A watchman passes, cudgel in hand. His nod is curt. Yours even more so. Better not to linger. You skirt the marketplace. Now a hollow maze of shuttered stalls. A stray dog noses for scraps beneath a fallen crate. At the edge of the square, a beggar woman huddles beneath a threadbare cloak. Her eyes gleam in the dark, sharp, knowing. You drop a coin into her cup. Information flows in many forms. You move on. Past the mill where the wheel turns slow and silent. Past the chapel, where candles gutter against the cold. The town breathes in uneasy rhythms. Somewhere a shout. Somewhere a door slams. You quicken your pace. Not all debts are measured in coin. Some come with blades. At last, your alley, your door. You press inside, bar it fast. The city exhales behind you. You too. For tonight, at least, you've survived its hunger. Picture this. Inside your cold quarters, the coals in the hearth are dying, casting soft shadows across the cracked beams. The night presses close. You lean back against the wall, weary but not yet willing to surrender to sleep. Spoiler: wisdom matters more than strength. Congratulations. You've gathered some, scar by scar. You remember old Garen's words, spoken over many sour ales, one scarred finger tapping the rim of a battered cup. A collector who's feared is hunted. A collector who's liked is cheated. Walk between and watch your back. Simple, true. You turn this advice over, a stone worn smooth with use. First rule: never show the full purse. Coins jingling in the wrong street draw eyes, blades, and worse. Keep the weight hidden always. Second, know the tavern talk. Ears open, mouth closed. A whispered feud between merchants may net you unpaid dues, or warn of a knife meant for your ribs. Third, fear the debtor with nothing left to lose, the desperate fight hardest. A mother shielding her last loaf will face you with a ferocity no noble can match. Weigh each demand carefully, live longer. Fourth, guard your ledger like your life. In many ways, it is your life. A false mark or missing page can mean the stocks. or the noose. Keep it dry, legible, exact. Errors here are carved in flesh. Fifth, learn who truly holds power. Not always the Lord. Sometimes the steward, the guildmaster, the old widow with a memory like steel. Respect them. Fear them when needed. Sixth, pay your debts, coin or kindness. The boy you spare today may guard your back tomorrow. The merchant you ruin without cause may hire your assassin. Balance must be kept. And lastly, listen to the rats. Where they flee, danger follows. Where they feast, opportunity lingers. You smile faintly at this one, half jest, half truth. Outside, the city sighs, a long, slow exhalation of worn stone and restless souls. You close your eyes, the wisdom of scars settling around you like a cloak. In a corner of your mind, Garon's voice again. One more day alive is one more chance to learn. Never waste it. And so you won't. Not yet. Picture this. The city holds its breath. Above, stars blink faintly through veils of cloud. The hour is late, closer to dawn than dusk. Silence deepens. Spoiler, the night ends, debts do not. Congratulations, you'll greet the sun again. You sit alone, wrapped in your patched cloak. The ledger rests closed. The coins lie counted. For once, there is nothing more to chase. No door to knock upon. And so your thoughts wander. What is it you truly collect? Coin? Yes. But beneath the silver lies something colder. The weight of lives measured, owed, and spent. You think of the old cooper in the jail, of the mother's eyes behind her ragged curtain, of the noble who weighed your life no heavier than a feather, and you wonder, where does duty end and choice begin? The candle gutters low. Shadows stretch long. In their flicker faces swim, debtor and lord, child and crone. Each a mark upon your days, each unpaid in ways no coin can settle. You trace a finger over the ledger's worn leather. So many names, so many debts. Yet your own are written elsewhere. In memories, in choices, in silences kept. Outside, the first faint hush of pre-dawn stirs. The city begins again. Boots will tread the mud. Voices will rise. Another day of debts, of bargains struck and broken. And you, small piece in a vast, grinding wheel, will shoulder your ledger and walk once more. Because the wheel turns, because it must. A rat chitters softly in the rafters. You smile, faint and tired. Even the smallest creature knows. Survival is the first debt. All else comes after. You rise, stretch, gather your things. One last breath of the cold night air, sharp and clean. One more day alive is one more chance to learn. And so you will. The stars pale, the sky lightens. Good night. Sleep well. The wheel will wait until morning.